So hello there and welcome back to Sonic Safari, a channel featuring tales of record collecting. I'm your host Marcus, a Swedish hipster lost in the fog in San Francisco. So last week we took a tour of my record collection and my gear setup, so if you haven't checked that video out, please do. I really enjoyed making it. So before going into today's episode, I do want to mention that I did go to a concert the other day, Sons of Kemet at the Independent here in San Francisco, which is a relatively small venue which creates very intimate concerts. And as I'm standing there listening, I realized just how much I've missed live music during these 2-year-long break and how important going to concert is for me. And I can't wait to go to the next big one, which is Big Thief in a couple of weeks. Back to today's episode where I want to talk about Saine Records, which is a jazz reissue label from Paris, France. Now, if you don't like jazz, don't go just yet, because this is really a story about entrepreneurship and an obsession about quality. So it's a really interesting story to tell, in my opinion. So why don't you stick around? So Saine Records was officially founded in 2011 by Fred Thomas as a non-profit independent jazz label based in Paris, France. So the label is named after Fred's son, Sam, and I say they officially opened in 2011 as the story of the label really starts 5 years earlier when Fred meets Nathan Davies, an American saxophonist that moved to France in 1962, and after conversations with Nathan, he decides to reissue one of his records, Peace Treaty. So up until this point, you can of course applaud Fred's entrepreneurship, especially as he has no idea at this point how to reissue vinyl records. But it's really the decisions he makes at this point that makes Sam so unique to me. So first of all, the fact that it's a non-profit record label matters, because I think it allows for the core thing about this label to exist, which is that Saine Records not only reissues only using the analog master tapes, but he also makes sure to track down the original photography or artwork used for the cover. Now, this obsession for using everything original matters even more if you consider that most times the release take a long time, as finding the original artwork is generally harder than finding the master tapes, as many times the artist is unknown. But it is this obsession over quality and detail that really shines through in all of his releases, or as Fred puts it, less is more. And again, I think this is possible because it is a non-profit label and it would be harder if money really mattered. So far he has reissued about 30 titles, and he chooses them based on 2 criteria. One is how much he likes the artist, and 2 is how rare the recording is. So let's take a look at some of them. So the first time I got in contact with Saine Records was a bit of an accident, because I was tracking down a Thelonious Monk release. It was this one, Dangerous Liaisons, from 2017, and this is the soundtrack to the movie with the same name. So this is the first official release that has the full cooperation and permission from the Thelonious Monk estate, and everything about this is just so incredible. The jacket is so sturdy, perfect condition. It also has this insert with some session photos and some liner notes. So when I picked this one up, I was so surprised about the quality that I started to check out the other releases that they had. So we already talked about how important Nathan Davies was for the birth of the label itself, so it only makes sense to show this release, which is a different one from Saine Records, and this is the ORTF recordings from 1966 to 1967. And this one really ticks all the boxes. It's a never released live recording. It's 3-disc set on a gatefold. It's pressed at Optimal in Germany, and it's sourced from the analog master tapes. But more importantly, when I bought this record, I got a glimpse into how Fred runs his label, because I put in an order and a couple of weeks later he reaches out to tell that he unfortunately sold out, but he was looking around and managed to find a promo copy that he sent my way. So of course it's great to get a promo copy, but it was also that detail where he actually took time out to try and find a record instead of just returning my money. And I think that, again, kind of speaks to how he runs the label. So here you can see that it is a promo copy. And again, this one sounds absolutely amazing. So next up, we have a volume of 3 releases that Chet Baker did for the Barclay label between 1955 and 1956. And I might say that even though the releases on Saine Records overall are amazing, these might be my favorite, and in part is because of these wonderful covers. I really like the combination with the session photo and these very colorful style. That's volume number 1. This is volume number 2, the yellow and the blue. And then we have volume number 3, which is together with Bobby Jaspar, and they've also recreated this old style fold over jacket, which I think is really cool. And of course the liner notes is in French. As all the rest of the releases, this also has the insert of a very handsome young Chet Baker, and it comes on the vinyl that has recreated the label. So overall, just an amazing quality. And I do have a lot of Chet Baker releases, but I'm very comfortable in saying that these are the best sounding by far. And I really think that this softer Saturday afternoon type of jazz is really fitting for this type of very high quality recording, because you can really hear the difference and the detail. So these are beautiful releases. All right, and next up we have this one. This is John Lewis and Sacha Distel's Afternoon in Paris, originally released in 1957. And this one also features a very young, 19 years of age, Barney Wilen up there in the corner, who ended up having a pretty successful career for himself. So as many of these releases, it's a mix of American and French players. So this means that they came together a lot of time with a very short notice. So it's kind of a looseness and a jamminess to this sound, which I really like, and I think make these recordings kind of stand out compared to others. But again, a fantastic record. All right, so last but not least, I wanted to show you this one, Seine from 1958 originally. And not only I wanted to show this because the cover is absolutely bonkers and fantastic and I love it, but also because it includes the before mentioned Barney Wilen, now at 21 years of age, together with 3 players from the modern jazz quartet, including Milt, who is not playing the vibraphone as he normally does, but the piano. And I know that I'm repeating myself, but again, this is quality through and through: the music, the jacket, the presentation. And I wanted to show you the label, the Philips one, which I think is really cool. And I really like the insert on this one as well, which has this kind of negative style, so you can see the pictures from the session and get a feeling for how it was to be there at the time. So again, an incredible release through and through. So Sam Records has become one of those labels that if they have a new release, I will pick it up without even doubting for a second, because I know that everything about it is going to be extremely high quality. The music, the pressing, the packaging, every single little detail. And you will pay around $35, which means that it's similar to a Tone Poet, which you should pick up, by the way, as well if you're a jazz lover and haven't already. And you can find them at places such as Acoustic Sounds, which means that here in the US, the shipping gets a bit easier. Now, they do pretty short runs, so they go in and out of stock pretty quickly, but he has a tendency to repress most of the issues. But again, overall, I love everything about Sam Records, and I hope that you check them out. All right, so that's it for today's episode. Please like, subscribe, and all of that good stuff. On the next episode, I'm going to talk about my record collecting principles. Until then, tack och adjö.